edition of the Narrative Off the Cuff with Elite News and Daryl Blair. Well, sometimes you make remarks and you cast things out there and they come back, not to bite you, but they come back to address you face first and full frontage. Here we are. We have with us today a candidate for the 282nd District Court, Criminal District Court here in Dallas County, Miss Geneva Barry. As you noted in one of my last posts, some people say I made mockery. I just noted, and I did it in a humorous fashion in the way I choose to do it. However, I was confronted. I have been confronted, and now Miss Barry is here. I want to acknowledge what it is that I've done. I was a little bit put off by her lack of attention to my questions and my engagement with her at the Democratic picnic. And so I said she was too busy fashioning herself. I said that when she announced her name, she didn't even pronounce the R's in her name. I said she said Barry and not Barry. And so I did that. And now she's here. I want to commend her first and foremost for stepping to the forefront. Unlike so many others do when they are in the public eye, they don't want any controversy, and that's understood, but they don't address issues that are pertinent to them. She, however, has come full frontage. Not only did she come before the camera, but as we're filming right now, she's in my personal space, and I welcomed her to do it because she was willing. She engaged to do it. So I want to take this opportunity to stand down on what it is that I said because she's here. Not because she's physically present, but as her character has allowed her to stand up and step out. Miss Barry, candidate for the 282nd, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Blair. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm going to give you the opportunity here to tell us a little bit about your candidacy, your sweat equity, your investment in our community, not just your career, but the community and individuals at large, and that when you serve on that bench, that the bench will be accessible to the people. While we recognize that as judges, you still have to go according to the letter of the law and uphold it. You don't create law, you uphold it. You follow sentencing guidelines, and sometimes you have compassion, and certainly you have fairness. But I want you to have an opportunity to speak to my audience, speak to this audience, period, to let them know where you stand on those issues. And you can even speak candidly about maybe your disgust and how I expressed what I felt. Go ahead, Ms. Barry.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for having me again, Mr. Blair. My name is Geneva Barry, and as most of you know, I am a candidate for the 282nd Judicial District Court here in Dallas County, Texas. I have been practicing criminal law exclusively for over a decade now, and right now I'm a federal and state criminal defense attorney. I'm also a former prosecutor, and a little background about myself. When I was a little girl, my father was murdered, and unfortunately I was the only witness to that offense. So that is actually my first introduction into the criminal justice system. And I want the people of Dallas County to know that I have a very well-rounded perspective on criminal law. Being a former prosecutor, currently assisting my clients through the hardest times of their lives, most of them indigent, and also witnessing firsthand seeking justice through the family lens with the loss of my father, and oftentimes coming up empty-handed. His case is still unsolved. I have a very well-rounded perspective, and that is what I will be bringing to the bench in Dallas County. My personal and professional experiences has also allowed me to understand compassion, sympathy, and allow people to, be open to people and listen more than I speak. My commitment to the community is that when you come in front of me, you will be heard, you will be seen. I will treat you with the utmost respect. Even if I do not rule in your favor, I want you to leave my court knowing and understanding that I respected you, I saw you, and I heard you. As far as the sweat equity in our community, I have resided in Dallas County since 2016. And again, as a former prosecutor, mostly right now I represent indigent clients. And those are clients that could not afford to go and hire a normal or a regular attorney at their rate. So as an indigent defense attorney, what I do is I allow myself to the court. I'm on, it's called a will, and I am assigned clients who are not able to financially seek regular counsel, and I provide them with the utmost service. I walk through their cases with them. I tell them what to expect. We go through a game plan, and I give them my undivided attention with compassion. I deal with them as if they're a person, and they always have access to me. So my commitment to Dallas County, my commitment to anyone that comes before me, whether you are a defense attorney, a prosecutor, a victim in an offense, is that I will do what is in the best interest of the community. I will look at every case. I will decide cases based on the law, based on the facts, free of any outside influences, to make sure that there is transparency, there is trust, there is decorum and justice, and that we have integrity in the process, because that's what matters.
Wow. Ms. Barry, I have to admit that you have not only come on this program, but you've upstaged me with your candidness and your character by virtue of expressing your sweat equity and your knowledge of the court system and the history that you had with it. I do want to give my condolences, late condolences, on the loss of your father, and you having to experience that.
I appreciate
That's
that.
something that I couldn't imagine, and I know nothing about, and so certainly I couldn't understand, because that's a personal perspective of your own. However, there are those who have forayed into the legal system because of things like that, so that they can see justice and fairness on both sides. And so that being said, I want to lean into something that I've noticed over the years with those who have sat as criminal judges period, in Dallas County. There has been a paradigm shift in how they present themselves and to the public and avail themselves to the public. There have been a number of judges who've gone on and given personal perspectives about their life, what goes on in their household, what they do in their personal life, and things of that nature. That was so unusual in decades past with, of course it was Republican leadership at one time, but even with some Democratic leadership on the bench in Dallas County or at the DA's office. I just find it rather odd that, those elected officials of that standard, who are judges, would go and avail themselves like that. To me, it seems as if instead of being elected officials, they become elected celebrities, and that's not good, because you're availing yourself, yes, but you are allowing yourself to be set up to possibly be victim in this hostile climate today. What do you think about that?
Well, my personal opinion is I feel that everyone should do what they believe is in their best interest. And as far as myself, there are certain aspects of my life that I do share with my boys and, my background and what I'm doing with the campaign. But overall, I think everyone is going to do what's best for them, what's well suited to their personality. Some people have personalities where they share a lot of things. Others are more introverted and they do not share as much. My commitment to the people of Dallas County is that there will be transparency. If I am given the honor and if I am given the opportunity to be elected as your next judge of the 282nd Judicial District Court, what I mean, if I am given the honor and if I am given the opportunity to be elected as your next judge of the 282nd Judicial District Court, what I mean by that is that the courtroom is an open space. The people of Dallas County, I would never put them in a position where they have to question my integrity, where they have to question my work ethic, and I will make sure I show up to work. Now, I'm not perfect, and I would not sit here and say I'm going to be at work every single day. And my goal is to work hard, and my life, my background demonstrates that I have 3 kids, and 2 of them are in magnet school. The third one just started school, and they are very well mannered. They are very smart, and I instill in them the same work ethic that I have. And nothing is promised to you. You're not entitled to anything. You work hard for what you have, and you appreciate everything. So back to Mr. Blair's question, I allow everybody to be who they are. Speaking for myself personally, as far as transparency, the Dallas County community would never have to guess where I stand with my ethics, with my transparency, and that is the type of judge I aspire to be. I'm not running for a role, I am running to make a difference and to be the difference, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you for clarifying that, because certainly I recognize in my, not my assumption, but from my perspective and what I see, that some are running for public office not because they want to provide a service and provide the character that they have of service, but they're more so running for a paycheck. And I've said this to them directly, and I will say it again. We are not part of your retirement plan. And I'm not speaking of you directly, I'm speaking of some of those who are in the public spectrum and who are on the bench. And they're looking to make sure they meet that threshold and that time where they're vested and they get retirement and things of that nature. And I think that's rather tragic, that you look to serve yourself above and beyond that of the public, for which I have to admit that you have not only come on this program, but you've upstaged me with your candidness and your character by virtue of expressing your sweat equity and your knowledge of the court system and the history that you had with it. I do want to give my condolences, big condolences on the loss of your father, and you having to experience that. That's something that I couldn't imagine, and I know nothing.
Speaking of you directly, I'm speaking of some of those who are in the public spectrum and who are on the bench, and they're looking to make sure they meet that threshold and that time where they're vested and they get retirement and things of that nature. And I think that's rather tragic, that you look to serve yourself above and beyond that of the public for which you were elected. I'm grateful for you, your presence, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand corrected about your character and your choices. And certainly I pray that those choices and your character and the community is the beneficiary of those things. So often that we've had, and I've experienced it firsthand, that you've had those who've come to the public, out in the public and asked for one's support and made all these promises. And the tragedy about that is when you approach someone, you tell them what it is that you're going to do for them, but you've never engaged them to the point of asking them, what is it that you're concerned with? And then by virtue of doing that, you get a consensus from people about one central idea, one central issue that is at hand that maybe you can address or find a way to give some attention to. They don't do that. And so my encouragement is that that model moves forward. As we have spoken this week with candidate for the 282nd, Attorney Geneva Baridi, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for coming. I want to say thank you for confronting me on what it is that I put out there. That shows character, and that shows that you believe in what it is that you do. Absolutely. And you'll put it up and you stand, as they say in the streets, 10 toes down on what it is that you move on. You can certainly note that I will be very attentive to your campaign for this office. She is one of the ones who advertised with me, but advertising is not the reason that I put things in perspective or I put it on a platform to be attended to in terms of our attention. I do it because I want to make those candidates aware that someone's watching you and that you have a debt of responsibility to the public. On another issue, I spoke about Charlie Kirk, and I still stand on that. And if he got up with that bullet in his neck and said right here, you know what I would do? I'd stand on that again, because he spewed visceral and division and racism, and we were the targets of it. And so I'm going to let him rest. He needs a lot of rest. He's gone, him in the dirt. And so ashes to ashes, dust to dust, Charlie meant the dirt. I don't feel bad about it. And I'm going to leave that there. You'll never hear that from me again. But I want to encourage everyone out there as we come to a close this week. This was the sole focus and purpose of this week's. Excuse me. I'm in a rush here. I don't know why. But this week's post was because I wanted to give Ms. Byree the opportunity to present herself and confront me with regards to what was said and how it was characterized. Thank you. My dad said that you ought to live a life that you wouldn't be embarrassed to sell your parrot to the town gossip. Keep that one in mind. We sat here today and we're challenged. There are a great number of us who are in this society that are not taking responsibility for their existence and theirs alone. You sat and you are the beneficiaries of those hard-working, tax-paying individuals. I'm speaking to you, those who don't work, haven't worked, and who are fleecing the government. And when you do it, you're doing it at our expense as taxpayers. If you're getting TANF, you're getting SNAP, you're getting any kind of government benefits, if you're getting housing assistance, you're getting Medicaid and Medicare by virtue of the government, you have a responsibility, if you don't have a criminal record, that you go get registered to vote, and not only get registered, but vote. And then I want to say something else that speaks to this narrative. You want to complain and talk about the criminal justice system or the justice system at all or anything to do with the law. The first thing you ought to do is answer that damn jury summons. Go down there and be part of the jurors. Don't be the critic sitting on the sideline about the decision that was made. Be part of the decision makers. Those two tenets will move us along. And I want to encourage you about vote. My vote don't count. Damn fool, yes it does. Your vote counts. Even in a loss, your vote counts. Because it gives you an opportunity to speak, even though you didn't prevail in terms of victory for who you voted for. But what it says to the other side is they will turn out, they will vote. And that's why we're in this peril right now, because they recognize while you're solely dependent on the system, you're not participating with the system. And as such, we can talk all we want to, we can go out and protest, and it's not beneficiary. If you want to protest, really picket and boycott by virtue of pulling your dollars from giving institutions like some of you damn fool Cowboy fans. Y'all want to support the Dallas Cowboys, and look at Jerry Jones. He been there at every pinnacle time. When it said don't take a knee, he was the one that said don't take a knee or you'll get run away from this team. But what did they do? Have a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk? Let me tell you another one. Little Rock 5. When they integrated Little Rock school system, he was one of the ones there. Who the hell goes to a protest just to observe? That's not Jerry's nature. He was there. They got pictures. That's who he is. And you continue to pour money and support into a program, into a team that has no support and caring for you, not even the product he has on the field. That's a whole nother issue. So what I want to do is encourage you. This week, we're celebrating Women of Wisdom. We call it WOW. October the 11th, 12 noon. As my dad would say, high noon, at the Jesus Center, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. 10 wonderful women who've labored lovingly in the community. You stand on their shoulders and you don't even know some of the benefits that you're receiving